It's now time to take a look at the Cleveland perspective, of course, coming off of draft weekend. And our next guest is not only a friend of the show, but somebody who has been a part of some pretty tense, or shall we say, intense press conferences around the Browns building in recent weeks and recent days. And that is Cleveland.com's Browns beat writer, Mary Kay Cabot. Welcome back, Mary Kay. And my, oh my, you are not afraid to ask the question. I've been hearing your voice in them, and I'm rooting you on getting those questions that need to be asked. So what is the state of the Browns coming off of draft weekend, if you can somehow summarize it?
Well, thanks for noticing. Those questions have to be asked, even though you might be getting yourself into some dicey situations with some of those at times, but you have to ask them. So thank you for noticing that. And then just the Browns are in a situation now where they have a four-way competition at quarterback. They find themselves back in sort of the eye of the storm at the quarterback position now with Shedeur Sanders in here. They don't see it like that at all. They see it as an opportunity to take a chance on a quarterback in the 5th round who was falling fast and furious there. And they threw him a lifeline. They're going to bring him in here and see what he can do in this competition. But it's certainly not going to be handed to him. He's going to have to really come in here and fight and scratch and claw his way to the top of that depth chart.
Mary Kay, do you see anybody that might be a favorite? Like, I'm looking at this lineup. It sounds like they've kind of moved on from Deshaun Watson. You've got Kenny Pickett. You got our former Super Bowl winning Raven, Joe Flacco. Then they have Dylan, which was drafted before Shedeur. Do you see anybody even just lightly penciled in as the favorite going into it?
As of right now, I'm going to put Kenny Pickett in that role because they went out and they traded for Kenny Pickett right at the outset when the league year was about to open. They identified him as someone who could come in here and be their bridge quarterback, a young former first-round pick, of course, of the Steelers in 2022, who fared well in his first couple of years there, not as well as he could have done because he was in a bit of a challenging situation. His offensive coordinator got fired in his second season. He had some mercurial receivers. One of them is now with the Cleveland Browns, but he had some challenging guys to throw the ball to, and it just wasn't a great environment for a rookie to come into. Now he's got some wins under his belt. He's 15-10 as a starter. He went to the Philadelphia Eagles. He got some great coaching from Kellen Moore last year, and I think the Browns want to pick up where he left off with the Eagles last year in learning and refining his game and bring him in here and see what he can't do. In a perfect world, they'll end up with their version of a Sam Darnold or what Baker Mayfield has gone on to be with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Now, those are some tall orders there, of course, but I think that's the way they're viewing it.
If there's one guy that can cultivate that kind of success, you would think it's Kevin Stefanski. He has been a quarterback whisperer for the Browns in recent years with all the tumultuous state that you guys have been in at that position. Now, I got to wonder, one of the questions that you asked, which was probably tougher than most think that are outside of the reporting community, was regarding this screenshot. I believe you were the one that asked this, Mary Kay. I think if I was listening, okay, good. So this was the cut on ESPN that they shifted to as Shedeur Sanders heard his name called, obviously well after he would have expected. It was day 3. It was the 5th round, and there's Kevin, and then there's Andrew Berry, head coach and general manager, respectively. They told you in response to essentially the obvious underwhelming body language that they had in this moment that it wasn't synced up perfectly with the time of the pick. Are you buying it?
Well, yeah, because I think by that time they would have already had talked to Shedeur, and this is just the kind of thing where I get they probably say, okay, you're going to be on camera now, and make sure that you look happy about this or something. I'm not exactly sure how that goes, but by this point, some things had already gone on. They had already made the trade. Some things had already happened. So I am buying that. And they were also just wiped out by the end of this weekend. And so many things had gone on, including a big, huge trade to go from 2 down to number 5 in the first round. And so I am buying that. And the narrative that keeps persisting no matter what is the fact that Jimmy Haslam is calling the shots on this football team. That's not true. Andrew Berry has final say. Andrew Berry is running the show. And I just really can't tell you that I believe that Jimmy made this pick.
Okay, that's good to know. And I have to be honest, we're all exhausted. I know the front offices and the reporters, us on the content creating side, we're all exhausted. So I can see that being the case too. Now, Mary Kay, what's crazy is the quarterback situation is taking all of the spotlight. But what's crazy is in the first round, I didn't pencil it and I pinned it in. I thought that the Browns would take Travis Hunter. But instead, they moved back a couple spots. They end up getting Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. I'm like, well, both the Steelers and the Browns are doing that with Derrick Henry coming through. I think that sure helps to have them there. But what was their reasoning for passing on what some were projecting to be just a generational player in Hunter? And then how did Mason Graham, I'm sure, respond to all this? Because I'm sure he's hearing things online and on TV about how could you pass up Travis Hunter for somebody else?
Yeah, I also asked Mason Graham that question. So, how do you feel about coming in to a city, to a town where everybody was poised for Travis Hunter and excited about him? So these, once again, those are the kinds of questions that you have to ask on draft weekend to get the answers that absolutely everybody wants to know. But the thing is here, it was really about the haul that they got for Travis Hunter. Now they have to do plenty with it, and these guys have to come through. But if you look at what they've done already, they traded down only 3 spots. They got number 5. They got a second-round pick that they used on a running back. They got a 4th-round pick that they used on a running back, and they have a first-round pick next year, giving them 2. And in the event that they need a quarterback, that they're still looking for Mr. Right, they can package those two first-round picks and see if they can't move up perhaps and get their franchise quarterback if he doesn't reveal himself or you don't manifest him this year. So they got so much out of this trade in terms of picks, players. They completely overhauled their entire running game with Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, and they feel really good about what they got out of this trade.
Mary Kay, this one was, I don't know what the right word is, maybe debacle in terms of his time in Baltimore and every other team really he's been with over the last season or two. Deontay Johnson is now a Cleveland Brown. How do you make sense of this?
Well, I'll tell you what, the first time that I heard it, I thought they better have it on good authority that he has gotten a handle on whatever caused him to be the player that he was last year, that 3 different teams gave up on, that teams traded away or cut or whatever the case may be. We saw things, we heard things, we read things. And he can't be that guy here, or he will not last here either. He's going to have to get in line. They're going for a culture change here. And it's been a transformation over the past how many ever years, but they are not going to really tolerate someone who's not going to buy into the program and really do what the Browns need him to do to be the best version of himself. If he's willing to do that, then he'll have a place on this football team, and they potentially have a really, really good, productive receiver on their hands. But we all know that it comes with some risks. It comes with some baggage, and he has just got to get this turned around.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like he couldn't be happy with Lamar Jackson as his quarterback, and I mean he would have had a huge opportunity with some of the injuries late, and so you just wonder how he's going to deal with the quarterback competition that's going on there. So I'm always rooting for a redemption story. So good luck to him and the Browns for sure, because I always like to see a good redemption story. Going back a couple months, Mary Kate, there was a lot of like seemingly drama with Myles Garrett. I thought, man, is he going to get traded? Is he going to hold out? This and that. From the outside, it seemed like things had gotten resolved pretty quickly. Was it something as simple as, paying him a lot of money, or was there something else going around? Because to me, it just seemed like with the way he was talking at the end of the season, oh, this isn't going to happen. And then before I know it, he's signed to a contract extension.
Well, I think it was a combination of a lot of things. And you guys saw that he went really, really hard after the notion of, I do not want to be back here. This is not about the money. But when you throw everything into the hopper, there probably weren't a whole lot of teams that were going to be able to pay him $40 million a year, making him at that time the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. So there was that. And then there was the fact that if the Browns had already said they were not going to take 2 first-round picks for Myles Garrett, somebody was going to have to come through with a whole lot more than that. And that obviously didn't happen either. And then I just think it was a matter of maybe not having an opportunity and also getting the money, and also the Browns showing him, look, we've got these 10 picks and we are going to do everything that we can with these 10 picks and some other pieces in free agency to get this team to winning as fast as we possibly can. And of course, they didn't have some marquee quarterback to show him, but they had a number of guys they knew were coming in to compete for the starting job, and also the chance to go out next year and get a franchise quarterback. And you put it all together, and he was ready to come back.
Mary Kay, on the other side of the ball, I mean, just kind of begs the question when you draft 2 running backs, and given, I just feel for this guy because by all accounts, I'm sure you know him personally from your locker room dealings, but Nick Chubb just seems like an all-around class act. And for him to have dealt with these severe, catastrophic knee injuries with the type of talent that he is, it's just so devastating for him as a player. But given where they are right now with a running back room that consists of, Jerome Ford, Judkins, Sampson, who they just drafted, right? Those are the 2 that they just drafted. And then Pierre Strong Jr. is at least on the depth chart 90 man that I'm seeing on ESPN.com. Is this a message for his future? Do you expect him to be back? Would it be late in the process? If so, what are you thinking?
Well, I wrote a column about this earlier in the week. What does this mean for Nick Chubb? And basically, it kind of comes down to the Jerome Ford piece. Jerome is heading into the final year of his rookie deal. If someone is willing to make the Browns some kind of an offer for Jerome Ford that the Browns can't refuse, then they could possibly try to trade Jerome. And then that would open up a space for Nick Chubb. We've seen Nick Chubb this week hurdling 3 times in the weight room of his high school, squatting more than 500 pounds. So he's working really hard, and he is a freak of nature. And it looks like he's much stronger than he was last year when he was just coming off of that second major reconstruction of the left knee. But if Jerome Ford sticks around, then I don't think there is a place for Nick Chubb. So I think that's the kind of key thing to watch here.
All right, so Mary, just my last question here to let you out of here. Now looking post-draft at the AFC North, do you have kind of like an AFC North power ranking, and what do the Browns need to do from here to, do what they promised, Myles Garrett, that we're going to win right away. So what's your power ranking, and how can the Browns move up in that?
Well, it's really hard to say when you don't know who the quarterback is. Right. If you knew who the starting quarterback is, then I think it's much easier to rank them. So I guess for now, I'll go with Kenny Pickett. I do think that Dylan Gabriel will come in and really compete very, very hard with Kenny Pickett. And then I think you'll have Shedeur and Joe doing whatever they can to climb up that depth chart and get up there onto a level playing field with those guys and really try to compete for this job. But it's hard to say where they might be because of the quarterback situation. So as of right now, I would probably put them 3rd or 4th. And I just think it's going to be a really, really great race this year again in the AFC North.
And if they can get their quarterback room taken care of, they always play Baltimore tough, particularly on defense. And that's why we kept talking about the idea of Abdul Carter, right, opposite Myles Garrett. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen, and you still go defense. But, man, you get that, much like Pittsburgh. You get the quarterback position taken care of, and you are going to be competitive in one of the most, if not the entirely most competitive divisions of all of football. Mary Kay, we appreciate your time. What do you got coming up on Cleveland.com that maybe some folks from the Ravens perspective would want to see what's going on in Cleveland?
Just kind of following up on everything. Today, I'm writing something about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and what the outlook is for him. They went out and they drafted an off-ball linebacker at number 33 overall. So I'm taking a look at that, and then really moving ahead to rookie minicamp coming up next weekend, and Shedeur coming into town. The circus is coming back to town, just in the same way it did, let me say it, with Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson. So here we go again.
I would suspect that Hard Knocks has got to be on the phone with Browns ownership. No?
I don't know. We'll see, but it certainly will be a show.
Mary Kay, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Mary.
Browns beat reporter who's joined us before. You can go hit her up on Twitter. Send her a thank you at Mary Kay Cabot. 3rd or 4th in the division. I wonder who she's got as that other team that might be right there.
Like right now, she's just like, I can't, speak too high. I'll give him a little bit of love or whatnot. But listen, she is plugged in, Bobby, and she is like to the point, and she's got facts, and she's full of good information. And to your point, I'm glad that you noticed all the tough questions that she's asked, because it's easier said than done, knowing that it's like this it's not just like fans that can like yell at coaches and then they go on with their day. Like, you have to have a relationship with these people, and if you want to get further interviews and more questions, like, you have to ask tough questions but respectful questions, all of that. But to me, I think the most enlightening thing was the question I asked about why they traded back and away from Travis Hunter. And she basically said they've got one eye on that quarterback class next year, because now they've got 2 first-round picks next year, and they can use ammunition to trade up if Kenny Pickett doesn't work out, and Dylan doesn't work out, and Shador doesn't work out, and Joe's probably going to be too old to count on, for another year. So she's like, they've got ammunition in a much better draft class to say, you know what? None of these 4 guys panned out. We're going to go up and get one of the big studs in 2026.
Something tells me they're going to be in pretty darn good position to do so, with not only a couple first rounders like you referenced, but I don't know. It just seems like too much of a circus. I think they're going to be very competitive with the Ravens. I think they're going to be very competitive with their in-division opponents. But outside of the division, I just don't see them hanging around to be some of the AFC elites. And so ultimately, I see them, top half of that first half opening round, and you'll have the likes of Cade Klubnik, Nussmeier. I don't know if Arch Manning's going to come out or not. He has another year of eligibility. So I took a quick peek in the last couple of days of some of these quarterbacks, a very, very early look at who they might, and whoever else is going to be at the top of the draft might have their selection of. So we appreciate Mary Kay for her time. Go hit up her Twitter and just say a quick thanks because of her generosity.